the experience that you get from this game. It's really neat. Totally enjoy it. Between Two Castles of Mad King Ludwig is a tile drafting game for, get this, 2 to 7 players. And it even plays those higher player counts quite well, with very little downtime. And the game also has probably one of the longest names I've ever heard. That has got to be the longest name of any board game ever. Players will be building a castle between themselves and the player to their left, and themselves and the player to their right. And at the end of the game, your score will be the lower of the 2 castles that are adjacent to you. So you'll kind of be working with the players to your left and right, but sometimes you may nerf a castle or favor one more than the other to try to get them both up equally in the points department. So while it does have some cooperative elements to it, it's not a cooperative game. And that is kind of a hard thing to successfully pull off in a board game. But for Stonemaier Games, this does work quite well in this game. And in typical Stonemaier Games fashions, the production value is quite lovely in this game. And just look at these amazing game trays that come with the game to store the game. And the rulebook claims that they aid in play of the game. Kinda. Review copy provided by the wonderful people at Stonemaier Games, and Harley Quinn would like you to click that subscribe button. And don't worry, yes, you do get to name your castles in this. Usually it's whoever has the pen gets to decide the name, and you can be as creative as you want, or not creative. You can come up with wonderful names like Brew Balls, or Dingle Tower, or who could forget Green Yankers. But on a serious note, the game does come with a really nice score pad, and they're double-sided. Players will receive a hand of 9 tiles, and simultaneously the players will choose 2 of those tiles. So let's say, maybe I'll take this, and I'll take this one. And once a player has chosen their tiles, to signify that they're done doing so, they'll take that remaining stack of tiles and place it underneath the little castle meeple so the rest of the table knows that they are done. Now once all players have selected their tiles, players will then reveal them. They will add one of the tiles to the castle to their left and the other tile to the castle to their right. You can converse with the players around you on the placement, the location, even the order in which these tiles are placed. Maybe I want to place my princess chambers at Castle Scarlet Hills before Joe over there wants to place his tile, or vice versa. So it's almost like a bizarre layer of bartering and such, but it's kind of a fun puzzle that you get to work out with your friends, or at least they're friends for now. Players will then place those tiles, adding them to the respective castles. So each turn of the game, a castle will be gaining 2 tiles, one from the person to the left of the castle and one from the person to the right of the castle. And this process will repeat itself 4 times, and at which point you'll find yourself with a leftover tile. That leftover tile is discarded and removed from the game. At this point, you are halfway through the game. You will then shuffle and deal out another set of 9 tiles to each player, rinse and repeat, except for pass the tiles counterclockwise this time for 4 turns. Then you will proceed to in-game scoring, which in-game scoring takes quite a while to do. However, the game is fun enough that it is worth it. And it's kind of exciting tallying all that stuff up. And all these beautifully illustrated tiles come in 7 different room types, or as I like to call them, suits. I think of them more as suits. And within those 7 different suits, there are 4 different features. So they're kind of like a subsuit within the suits. And each one of these tiles has a different kind of scoring to it. And each different room will score differently. And now let's go to some B-reel for how each one of these different types of rooms scores. Food rooms gain victory points if they are built above and or below another specific type of room. This one wants to be next to corridor tiles. So if we were to place this tile here, it will gain us at least 2 points because of the Hall of Ghosts below it. So it may be in our best interest to build another corridor above it that would gain us another 2 victory points, scoring 4 points for the buttery. Living quarter tiles score victory points depending on what tiles are adjacent to it. This one will score 2 points per outdoor tile that is adjacent to it in all directions, even diagonals. So putting this here might be a good idea because it's already adjacent to this vegetable garden. So maybe later on we would build a firewood storage above it. So then that would gain us another 2 points for the reading room. That's also a good move too because that firewood storage gives us 1 point per living quarters tile. So you're kind of double dipping, and this game is in fact combo tested. Utility tiles gain a victory point per a connected type of room. This one wants to be connected to food rooms. And by connected, they mean it can be like a chain. So if I put this one here, it would be worth 1-2 points for that chain of food rooms. Outdoor tiles will gain you victory points per a certain type of room. This one will gain you 1 victory point per food room. So this might be a good one to place on this castle because there's already 1, 2, 3 food rooms. Sleeping quarter rooms are worth 4 points each if you have all 6 of the other color rooms. And they're also worth 1 victory point if you don't meet that criteria. So they're a little more flexible as to where you put them. Corridor tiles will gain you 1 victory point per room with a specific feature touching it. This one is looking for torches. And why is there a cat so close to that fire? Watch that cat. Be careful. Keep an eye on that cat. Corridors are special too because they are the only tile that can go at ground level and above or even below ground level. Downstairs tiles have to be built below ground level. So it can't go up here on the same level as these, it has to be built underneath. And they will give victory points based on what's in the column. This one will give you 1 victory point per downstairs that's in the column. So this one is already going to score us 1 point. So it may be worth your time to build more downstairs below the spy room to gain even more points. And in addition to the tiles scoring for victory points, you also get a bonus whenever you have 3 matching room types. If you ever have 3 matching of a room type, there is a bonus. The bonus for food is you draw 5 tiles, you choose one, and then you can place it. Bonus for the outdoors is you get to put a fountain in your castle. It's just a fountain, but it's worth 5 points, and hey, 5 points is 5 points. The bonus for utility rooms is you draw 3 of these bonus cards, and you get to choose one of them to score on your castle, and some of these can get you a ton of points at the end of the game. And the bonus for corridors is a grand foyer, and these will grant you 1 point for any tile touching it. So you want to place one of those bad boys down somewhere where you can close in all around it. And the bonus for the living quarters is you get to put one of these people in your throne room. And these people will give you victory points based on different types of features that your castle may have. And the bonus for the sleeping quarters is a tower. And if you happen to have a really long section of your castle, this can be a ton of points. And the bonus for downstairs is you get to choose any of the other bonuses. And those are conveniently printed on the player aid, in which the game does come with 7 player aids, so each player gets their own player aid with the same information on both sides. And then you also get another bonus when you have 5 matching room types. So that's kind of another thing to think about too, as well. Maybe you don't need another garden tile in your castle. If it's your 3rd one, maybe you would consider it more to get the bonus from, which in the case of a garden, lets you get a fountain. There are some specialty room tiles that you can get, such as towers, fountains, and grand foyer tiles. Foyer? I don't know how it's pronounced. And speaking of garden tiles, any tile with a blue border around it means that it doesn't really have a ceiling, therefore you can't place a tile on top of it. And some of the tiles do have restrictions as to where they can be placed. So you're kind of building the castle like you're on ground level looking at the tower. So thematically, stuff has to make sense. You can't put a room on top of nothing. There has to be a structure underneath. And that structure has to have a ceiling, unlike this winter garden that does not have a ceiling. And once players have completed building their castles, tally up the victory points, and the player with the greatest score is the winner. So in short, draft tiles, build castles, kind of work with your teammates / opponents, and then get the largest score, win between 2 castles of Mad King Ludwig. Well, I just want to start off by saying that this game is a lot of fun. It's a nice puzzle to work out with your friends, but at the end, there's still only 1 vic. Now that that's been said, let's talk about the stuff that sucks. Shuffling those tiles totally sucks. It's almost better to just throw them in a big bag and pull them out. That way, just, each player pulls out 9 tiles to begin the round. I mean, I guess it's not really that big of a deal, but it's difficult to shuffle those to make sure you get a good mixture of them. And to be honest, my first game of this, I was quite underwhelmed, but I think that was coming from expecting something more like Between Two Cities. I do like this game better than Between Two Cities. I do feel though that there is a place for Between Two Cities, because that game you can teach it real quick and you can start playing it immediately with almost anyone. However, this one is a little heavier than that, and at first it can be kind of overwhelming because you're like, well, what are these little painting things? Where are these little mirrors? Because those are kind of like a secondary suit within the original 7 suits. Different types of rooms are available, and then you'll watch, and you'll see a player like try to build a downstairs like on ground level, and you're like, no, it has to be built below ground level, you know, and little extra things that you have to think about that aren't in between two cities. But I do prefer this one and like this one a lot. And while the iconography is pretty clear, it, in my opinion, could have been a bit bigger. It is kind of small, so like when depending on lighting or seating conditions, some players may have an issue seeing the difference between like the mirrors or the paintings on the features. And noticing the suits or the different room types isn't quite as bad because they have the colors behind them, but I noticed some players have had difficulty seeing those features. Not I, because I have had laser eye surgery. And it can be kind of, I don't want to say cumbersome, but you need to be aware, especially your first couple games, to keep an eye out for having 3 matching room types. So often I would see players like, you know, be building whatever, you know, having a good time, enjoying themselves, and then you'd be like, oh, did you get your bonus for having 3 sleeping quarters? Oh no, we didn't. No, thanks. You know, so it does, the first couple games, it does help to have one player that's very familiar and kind of can police the table. But due to the nature of the game, even if you do catch something like that a little late, it's not really that big of a deal. You know, you can just, you know, retroactively be like, oh, you know, we were supposed to have a fountain, grab a fountain, throw a fountain out there, you know, it's no biggie. We're all here to have fun. So that's enough nitpicking. Now let's get to the stuff that makes this game so awesome. The working co-op thing with your neighbors, like, that doesn't sound like fun to me. I'm hit or miss with co-op games, but in this one, it's, you find yourself just going to a different place, enjoying yourself, figuring out a puzzle with 2 different people at the same time. Yet it's not like overstimulating. It's really neat, the experience that you get from this game. Totally enjoy it. And some of the room names are pretty funny too. You know, like there's a sty, you know, a pig sty, and the who can forget the kitten room. And all of these rooms, I don't think any of them are the same. It's absolutely insane. The art on this game is phenomenal. It makes me think of like some old children's books that I used to just absolutely adore. I find myself, you know, oh, have you picked your tiles? No, I'm sorry. I'm busy looking at all of these beautifully illustrated tile. Thank you very much. And while this game may not offer the instant gratification that I anticipated it would, I do find that the gameplay is a little deeper than I thought it would, and I think I enjoy it a little bit more than I thought I would. Not that I went into it thinking I wouldn't enjoy it, I just thought it would be kind of a nice filler game, but it kind of feels more than a filler game, even though it really only takes about 45 minutes to play the game. And within those 45 minutes, I feel that it is a quite satisfying and enjoyable experience. There's really not much downtime, and not many other games I can say that have quite this feel to them. And it seems like it levels the playing field too, that you're kind of working with other players, because it, you know, depending on how you're seated, obviously, some players might see something that another player might not see, and you know, they can kind of work together, and 2 heads are always better than 1 is what I was told. So most of the scores in this game actually end up being pretty darn close. Actually, the last 4-player game I played of this, 3 out of the 4 castles all tied with a score of 55. That's how close this game was. And I think the one castle that was worth more was like 57 or 58. I mean, it was ridiculous close. And since it was so close, the player who won got to graciously talk trash the rest of the evening about how they were a master builder or something stupid like that. But in conclusion, this game looks pretty, it's awfully fun, it's not that bad of a teach, however, it is a little more involved than I was anticipating the teach being, but it's very enjoyable, beautiful looking game. I'm giving this one a 4 out of 5. Definitely staying in my collection. I just love to play it, especially at the higher player counts. That is between 2 castles of Mad King Ludwig. It's such a long title. But thanks for watching another episode of Rolling with the Beard. I don't know what to do with my hands. They just go crazy. Woo!